call this a Physio ball snow angels. This is a great exercise for building some strength and awareness around the shoulder blades. I'm going to show a few reps, but the details on this, like they often do, matter quite a bit. So especially if I've given you this in a rehab program, watch through to review some of these cues here. So I got a Physio or a Swiss ball. I'm going to come down so that way my body's at a little angle, but a position where my low back can relax. And even before I start, I don't want to be too tense. So I'm going to just take a few deep breaths, and with each exhale, you kind of roll back and forth. I want to start with the shoulders relaxed, the low back relaxed, so that way I'm not starting with too much tension. From there, I'm going to have my gaze looking down towards the floor, not ahead, and I'm going to bring my arms to my sides, rotate thumbs slightly away, or slightly out, and lift about 2 inches off the ball. From there, I'm going to try and reach my arms as long as I can. So I'm going to try to get long. That should draw the shoulder blades away from the neck and kick in some muscles on the back of the shoulder blade. From there, I'm going to rotate a little more and reach up, almost like a snow angel motion. Reach up, reach up, reach up, until your arms are overhead, it's like Superman. And then we're going to come back down, that same position. And throughout the entire motion, I'm trying to get my arms as long. I'm trying to draw, I end up drawing as big of a semicircle, or if I was laying down the other way in the snow, the biggest snow angel you possibly could, as we move through nice and slow and controlled. And we should start to feel quite a bit of work back behind my shoulder blades, in my thoracic spine, my mid-back. I don't want to feel too much work in the neck or the low back. So that's the exercise. I'm going to break down some of those common places people go wrong. One is we start with the shoulders up in the neck, or maybe looking forward. So if I start a little bit shrugged up and looking forward, I don't have a lot of room to move there. And so I want to just get my gaze gently towards the floor, and that's why I started reaching away from my neck. I'm reaching down, kind of past my legs to try to get my shoulders out of my ears. Cue number 2, we don't have to get the arms super high. So just a couple inches above will get what we want. Often if we come too high, we can get bunched up in the front of the shoulder, or just changes the movement a bit. So just a few inches, I don't know, that's maybe 3.5 inches off the ball, tends to be enough. I don't have to be all the way up here. But as I reach up, I want to stay in that plane. So my arms are kind of somewhere between my ear and my chin. They're not coming too low, but I'm not trying to get them above my head either. So it's a nice middle ground. If it's hard to hold your head up in this position, this is just a couple rolled up pillowcases. I'm just gonna rest my chin on there, and then otherwise the same thing. This lets me have my gaze in the same spot, but I don't have to feel like I'm working to keep my head up. So if you're feeling discomfort in the neck, that can be helpful too. Then for the low back, so the position of the ball, we want it to be such that the low back isn't doing all the work. What I mean by that is that if I'm horizontal, I have to kind of lift up at my low back to do the motion. Or if I'm maybe too vertical, I then have to lift up. We want to get the ball in a position where I can relax around it. Believe it or not, we're trying to get a little bit of a round forward of the thoracic spine at the start. Often, societally, folks are worried about their posture, and they don't want to be here. But in everybody, natural human anatomy, the thoracic spine is a little bit of what's called kyphosis, which is a little bit of a curve forward. That curve forward is a match for the curve of the shoulder blade. This exercise, we're trying to get the shoulder blade moving, which can often help for a variety of different shoulder conditions, like shoulder impingement, a whole number of different things. But we get the shoulder blade moving. But if I start from a really extended position, it's hard to move my shoulder through a free and fluid range of motion. I also don't want to be here. That's hard to move through a free and fluid range of motion. I'm trying to find a nice, comfortable middle ground where I'm not at either extreme. And so if I kind of get the ball and I just relax where it feels comfortable, often that's a nice place, but you might try moving the ball up a little lower on your torso or scooting towards your head there, or back the other way if you're feeling like there's too much work in your low back, or if it doesn't feel right in your shoulder, just start with maybe an adjustment of the ball, because you might feel a little work in the low back, but I want it primarily to be above the low back where you feel this, and the ball position can really help with that. If you want to make it a little harder, we can grab some dumbbells and this stays the same. But man, even a pound or two makes this one pretty tough to control through that whole motion. Okay, if you made it that far, appreciate it. But just reviewing some of those cues, play around with the ball position, head looking gently to the floor, supporting here, starting, getting the shoulders away from the ears, not coming up too high, and then I'm making a nice big snow angel, getting these arms as long as I can, which is going to facilitate some great scapular motion, and then just gravity alone is often enough to get some great strengthening in this movement.